So I'm going to give you 4 reasons why I think truth should be the core of our work as advocates. The first is that truth is the basis for establishing trust, relationships, credibility, and integrity with our audience. The second is that truth-telling is all the more critical to our cause because we are struggling against an industry that is built upon lies and fictions. The third point is that we can't trick people into caring about our cause and lure them in from different angles. But we don't need to, and that's the beautiful thing. In a recent Faunalytics study, 80% of the people surveyed said they care about animal suffering. And the last reason is that truth appeals to our higher virtues. Virtues like honesty, sincerity, justice, reason, fairness, empathy. And if we want these virtues to grow in our society, then we need to use them, and we need to use them in our communication. So I'm going to also provide just a couple of guidelines for using truth. What do I mean? So I don't want to sound too abstract. So how would you apply this? Well, the first piece of advice I guess I'd have is that I think people should trust themselves more. I find a lot of people online saying, here's a very effective way to communicate this, or use this tactic, or try this because it works for selling cars and diapers, and give it a try for animal advocacy. My point here is that I think people should just trust themselves, and when they experience something, to communicate that experience authentically, rather than listen to someone that tells them to do it in some slick or marketing fashion. And the second way we can use truth is by telling true stories. And we have some of the best stories of anyone. And I can give you some examples. There are stories of human rescuers, people who have devoted their lives to helping other humans and other animals. Those are amazing stories. The animal survivors themselves, the ones who have been given a second chance, maybe the ones who have escaped the grasp of exploitation and are now living on a sanctuary somewhere. Those are amazing stories. And another kind is like the farmers or exploiters who have become animal activists, who've had a major transformation in their life. Those are great stories to tell. So what I'm advocating is strategic communication and not marketing. I want to go back to Gramsci. Remember what he said about cultural hegemony being used to control the public mind. Well, I didn't tell you that the solution to fighting that, and the struggle is about education, about educating the masses in a democratic, consensual way. Now, on the other side of that was Edward Bernays, who I told you was the author of Propaganda, the Manifesto of Propaganda. He said pretty much the opposite, that the way to keep social order is to control the public mind. So the point, I just want to make a couple points about marketing here. First of all, the purpose of marketing is not to tell the truth, but to find a way around telling the truth. It's the exploiter's principal tool of deception. Marketing betrays the truth by propping up fictions that titillate people to consume, not to think or care. And our stories are far better, like the ones I gave you examples of, than anything marketing could ever dream up. Anyway, our power comes from unleashing true stories. So I'm going to leave you with one. I'm going to leave you with a story that I think embodies the truth and also the important connection between belief and behavior and challenging that in our audience. And it's a story of Ezra. Ezra was a black rooster that we discovered in a cemetery who was tied to a headstone. And it was in the middle of winter between Christmas and New Year's. A woman came to the cemetery to visit a deceased loved one. And she noticed that there was this black rooster in the snow. So she called the police, and nothing happened. She came back apparently 7 days later, And she went to visit her deceased loved one once again, and she saw Ezra again, 7 days later. So he was there at least 7 days. So this time she called the police again, and the police finally found him. There were 2 feet of snow at that point, and bitterly cold, horrible conditions. And they found him, and they released him to our custody. We rushed him to the animal hospital, and our vet said that he needed emergency surgery to save his life because he had gangrene, and the infection was killing him. So long story short, he did survive this, but they had to amputate both feet and part of one leg. So they said he would never walk again, which is kind of a problem for chickens. Well, this amazing caretaker, Melissa Pena, who's pictured here, on the day of the rescue at the animal hospital, she spent 3 wonderful years with him and nursed him back to health. And they absolutely adored each other. And so what happened is he not only learned how to walk again, he actually could run on the stumps of his feet. A couple of months ago, Melissa contacted me to let me know that Ezra had passed, and peacefully by her side. And in thinking about his passing and all that he went through, all the memories of what happened and how amazing it was that he recovered from all that and had 3 great years after it, I had an even more compelling thought, and that was the story of all the others. So all of the other animals, the chickens like these chickens in crates that are on their way to a slaughterhouse, all the other animals that never knew humans as never knew a kind human touch, never knew anything kind or compassionate, who only knew humans as violent and desensitized workers. And to me, that's the most heartbreaking fact that we have to tell, the story that we have to tell, is the story of all the others, and relate that story of all the others to one of these individuals that we know. Thank you so much.